Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with DCeased Dead Planet number 3. And I thought that, I'd eventually get tired of this series, but it's interesting. I really am enjoying what Tom Taylor's doing, but there's one flaw, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but let's go ahead and dive into this. We've already gone over issues 1 and 2, so I will make sure to leave cards so that you guys can click it at your convenience. At the end of the last issue, essentially what was left of the Justice League Dark came to, I think it was Australia or somewhere in Australia. There it is. But anyway, they heard some sort of distress for help, and when they came, there was a sea of undead, and then there was like this hellfire lava. Now, I didn't spoil it in the last review. I'm going to spoil it now, so if you have not read this, pause this, go get the book, and come back. We'll wait. And you're back. So you come to find out that the Sea of Hellfire was actually Plastic Man. So all that you see there is a zombie or an undead Plastic Man trying to eat this ball of protection that Swamp Thing has thrown up. So I like this concept. It's terrifying when a shapeshifter becomes a zombie. I really like that idea. The artwork for it, very dynamic and just really screams terrifying. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about who made this book. This is Tom Taylor writing, Trevor Hairsine doing the pencils, inks by Gigi Blitzani. I apologize if I am destroying your names. Colors by Rain Burrito. Letters, Sadia Timfontaine. Here's everyone else working on the book. And I like how Zatanna's kind of one of those characters like Katana where, whenever she shows up in a book, I absolutely enjoy it. I kind of wish that she had her own title instead of always being on a team, because her and then her involvement with Constantine is very interesting dynamic, and I'd like to see more of that just in its own story, kind of like how everyone enjoys Green Arrow and Black Canary. It's the same concept for me, and I'd like to see a legitimate old school Vertigo book with her and John. I think that would be the best way to do it, or since Vertigo no longer exists, I think it would be kind of neat to see a Black Label. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. But anyway, here's where I kind of wish the book, where I say we'll get into what I think's wrong with the book. It's here where we get this panel of seeing Zatanna go up against this horrendous looking Plastic Man. And before we really get into more of it, it's like 3 panels and then done. And then kind of off screen, we kind of get an idea of characters that have passed, and you're just sort of like, okay, well, that was anticlimactic. And so again, this is where I kind of wish, well, okay, I'm flubbering here because I haven't had enough coffee, but what I'm trying to say here is I wish that the book would take its time. For example, DCeased Unkillable, very interesting concept. 3 issues, and they had to fly through it. So we had to see everything that happened with these characters kind of be rushed. And it would have been nice to take a couple more issues and just flesh it out. Same here. I don't know how many issues DCeased is, or the Dead Planet, should I say. But they have all these cool ideas. They have a zombie Plastic Man, and then the people who had a quote-unquote distress signal, is you see that it's a bunch of rich elites. So here we have Oswald Cobblepot, we have Jason Stagg, I think is his name, and then Maxwell Lord. So y'all should know Maxwell Lord from the Wonder Woman movie. Heads up, that's not a very good impression of what Maxwell Lord is. And of course, everyone should know that Cobblepot is the Penguin. And so before we jump into this, we kind of go into a B story, and we see Damian Wayne. As I remember, first issue, the characters that left Earth have come back to try to take it back after 5 years. The very first issue of the original DCeased, Batman dies, Nightwing dies, and I think Tim, and then of course Alfred. So we see that Damian has taken up the mantle, and Jim and him are reunited. So it's kind of interesting to see Jim from Unkillables here saying it's good to see you and to have Batman back. Now I like to think that, yeah, I have to take this kind of with a grain of salt, because all of a sudden, Jim goes to shake his hand and Damian hugs him, which at first is a little off-putting, but then it's also very heartwarming and endearing. And so people are thinking Damian would never do that. But in this universe, let's stop and think. He's seen Superman die. He's seen, he knows his father's dead. He knows his brother, Dick Grayson, and I think Tim as well are dead. He knows his grandfather, Alfred, is dead. His mother. And so seeing someone who, Gordon is kind of another sort of a surrogate father, you would think that he would indeed hug him. So that got me a little teared up. And there's a little bit of levity. I like how Gordon's like, your father wasn't a hugger. Oh, believe me, I remember, but I'm not as emotionally stunted. We're just lucky Scarecrow never realized Bruce's greatest fear was intimacy. Batman could have been chased out of Gotham by a supportive pat on the shoulder. So that's kind of cute. And then, okay, so we got that set up. And then we have a really sweet moment with Mary Marvel and Jonathan Kent. Something happened to Jonathan Kent and he's recovering, so I don't want to give too much of it away. But again, I wish that we could have seen where this is going to go. So I'm assuming this is Taylor's sort of, what is that, kind of the, not throwaway, future buildup. I'm just not all here today, guys. Sorry, but it's the interlude. There it is. Oh my God, held that flubbing just to think of an interlude. But yeah, I want to see what happens with Mary and John, because again, the Marvel family has always been one of my favorites. But the meat and potatoes of this issue is the bunker in Australia and all these rich elites that I just mentioned. We find that Jason Blood's there, so we get a really cool moment with Etrigan. But I wish there was action, because a lot of it that happens is talking, which is like, oh, come on. But what he's talking about, of course, is build-up, which I'm hoping we'll get in future issues. We're talking about Trigon. If you guys don't know who Trigon is, he is the father of Raven from the Titans. And so he's planning to come and just destroy the entire planet. Etrigan's saying that Hell is annoyed that the souls of the deceased are trapped in the anti-living. The souls can't escape because the body's still functioning, so Hell is enraged about this. So Trigon wants to come destroy the world, while these, these rich elites are wanting to take the world back. And there's a reason for these amazos. Make sure to read the book, check it out. And then, again, there's another really touching moment. So, the first DCeased issue, the person that caused the anti-life equation was Cyborg. He was captured by Apocalypse and sent back to Earth, but things didn't kind of go according to plan. Everything kind of went nuts, and the virus spread rapidly, not just across the Earth, but in other places as well. And that's how Superman, Batman, everyone got wiped out. So, the narrator, I'm thinking it's Constantine. I'm not 100% sure here. But what I like is he says it was good to have him back. It may have been another man wearing it, but there was something important about seeing Superman's symbol again. And it became very clear, very quickly, that the son was like the father. And you see John's resolve on his face. He says, we will find the cure. We will save them. He says he spoke implausibilities with certainty. And we just believed what he said. Whew, that gives you chills. That shows that John listened to his father, and so very much he has the heart of Superman. And then the book kind of wraps up with a scot-free Mr. Miracle. Something happened to Big Barda, which I'm assuming it was in the original DCeased line. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments, because I never read that one, which I kind of, in retrospect, wish I had. But you can see that Scott's not exactly in the best frame of mind. And the artwork here is just really well done. I kind of wish, now, again, I kind of wish some of this stuff got fleshed out. There are like sparks of action, but I kind of wish there was some more, because to me, the whole overall feeling of this book feels like a buildup. And that's not a good way to keep an issue. Like a lot of people say that when you're in comics, like let's say for example, a new reader comes along, and this is the first book they pick up. They're going to get the concept, but they're not going to see any good action or anything that kind of really draw them, and they're just going to see people talking and planning. So they're going to have to go back and already read issues 1 and 2, and then they're like, oh, there's however many afterwards. This book alone should draw you in. But with that said, if you are reading it chronologically as it comes out, it's good. There's a few really human moments, especially with what we just read, with John, with Gordon, and Damien. And then, of course, the opening with that hellacious-looking plastic man kind of really drew me in at that point. But I kind of wish they would have expounded on it instead of cutting away for people to start talking and planning. They should have been like, the narrative boxes with action going on. That would have kind of helped push without having to slow down for moments of talking and standing. So that's just my thought on it. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and grab a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little zombie bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all, as I said, down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.